This video is brought to you by Mint Mobile. So this is the OnePlus 11 versus the OnePlus 12. Should you be buying last year's model or this year's model? Or if you already have the OnePlus 11, should you be considering the upgrade to the OnePlus 12? Let's go ahead and talk about it. Starting off the build and design, they look very similar from afar. So they both have that same camera design, although the OnePlus 12 does have a much bigger camera bump. Not only is it a little bit thicker, but it also just is overall a larger diameter size. They've also changed the placement of the flash, and it almost looks like there's two sets of flashlights on the OnePlus 12, one in the top left corner, and there's also looks like a small one inside one of the sensors there. So I'm not entirely sure what exactly that is for, but they've also added some different text here. So on the OnePlus 12, you do get the aperture size and the focal length of each lens, whereas on the OnePlus 11, it just says Hasselblad on it. Both of them have an aluminum frame, glossy, and it's pretty much the exact same, although on the OnePlus 11, it does feel just a little bit thinner compared to the OnePlus 12. And also, it's still Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, but Victus 2 on the OnePlus 12 versus Victus, the first version, on the OnePlus 11. It's not the latest on both of them. I think the latest is like Victus Plus or Victus, I don't even know anymore, but there's like a newer version for sure. It's not the latest version of Corning Gorilla Glass on both of these, but it's still good enough to withstand drops from like your pocket potentially. And honestly, you should be using a case on both of these devices because that matte texture, it's got a bit of a slippery feel to it. It's not the most grippiest phone in the world, especially because it's still a glossy finish and the frame isn't super thick on both of them. So it can be pretty tough to hold on to these devices, even though they do feel pretty comfortable in the hand overall, because you do have those rounded edges, curved displays, both on the back and on the front. So the glass is curved. So it just overall is a good, comfortable feeling device on both of them. But the OnePlus 12 is also heavier, coming in at around 220 grams versus around 205 grams on the OnePlus 11. So it definitely got a little bit heavier and also just a little bit bigger overall. So it's a little bit wider and a little bit taller now because it does have a bigger display as well. So it does have a 6.82 inch display on the OnePlus 12 versus a 6.7 inch display diagonally on the OnePlus 11. So it just is a little bit bigger. Is bigger better? That's definitely up to you to decide whether you want the bigger size display. I personally like the bigger size display, but that's also because I have bigger hands. The OnePlus 11 wasn't small by any means, but it definitely was pretty easy to handle with one hand, and the aspect ratio just felt a little bit thinner and taller compared to other devices that I used, versus the OnePlus 12 feels just about right when it comes to comparing the aspect ratio to other devices. And the OnePlus 12 does have a higher IP65 water resistance rating versus the OnePlus 11 that's IP64. But also, they added a new technology on the display where if you splash water on it and there's running water on your display and you go to use it, the interactions are supposed to be pretty good. So there's not supposed to be a lot of spasms or no control at all when your display is wet, which is relatively true. I do find though that when you initially splash it with water or run water on the display, it may still spaz out, cause an accidental phantom touch here and there. But once you start to use it and the phone's wet, it performs pretty much normally, which is really, really cool. And both displays are still curved. So if you're not a fan of curved displays, of course, you unfortunately still have them here. The only downsides here are, one, you may still get accidental touches, especially if you have fat hands. Like I have excess fat skin on my palm, so sometimes the excess skin touches the edge of the display and causes the, I don't know, whatever I'm doing to either scroll accidentally or accidentally click on something when I didn't mean to do it. And you also have the issue of installing screen protectors on both of them. But luckily, OnePlus does pre-ship these with a pre-installed screen protector. I did remove the one on the OnePlus 11 a couple weeks back, and so the display is still pristine in good condition. The OnePlus 12 still has this one on, and I'm planning to keep it on until it starts to bubble up on its own. That's what I did with the OnePlus 11. Even then, I got like a bubble halfway through the year, and I just kept it on because it didn't really bother me that much. So screen protectors and accidental touches are still one of the cons when it comes to the displays because of the curved edges. It does look premium and nice, and feels really nice when you're swiping to use the back gesture. But other than that, I'm not a massive fan of them, but use a case and it kind of resolves most of those issues. As far as the quality though, you are getting a 1440p LTPO 120Hz AMOLED display, but there is a bit of a difference here. So the OnePlus 12 is able to reach a peak brightness of 4500 nits. This likely will only ever happen if you're either watching HDR content or if you're outdoors. I think the high brightness mode is around 1600 nits, which is still a lot better than the OnePlus 11, which is capped out, I think, 1300 nits maximum. So it definitely gets a lot brighter, not only in indoor conditions, but also when you go outdoors. The OnePlus 12 just smokes the OnePlus 11. So I love that. Thank you, OnePlus, for upgrading the display brightness, because compared to all the other competition out there, the OnePlus 11 was always just falling behind there. But overall content though, on your day-to-day experience, both of them are gonna be more than satisfactory. You're gonna be getting bright colors, vivid displays, beautiful contrast, and text is very sharp. You do have the option of selecting whether you want 1440p or 1080p resolution on either display. And you also have the option on both of them to select an auto select option, which basically allows it to change between the two resolutions while you're using your phone, depending on what you're doing on your display. So if you're watching content, watching 4K videos and streaming media, then likely it'll go to 1440p. But if you're just browsing text, it likely will just switch to 1080p. The other major difference to me when it comes to displays, other than the brightness, is gonna be the aspect ratio. I find that the OnePlus 11's aspect ratio does cause videos to have thicker black bars, especially 16:9 videos. And once you get to something wider like a movie, it's not as bad, but it definitely still is thicker compared to the competition. With the OnePlus 12 having a more 19:9 aspect ratio versus a 20:9 aspect ratio, it does have less thicker black bars and allows you to pretty much use a little bit more of your display to get more content. So I definitely appreciate and like that because it takes advantage of the size of the display. And also when you pinch the zoom, you won't be losing out as much content. And there's definitely new technology that allows the OnePlus 12 that use a couple of new modes that are available to help with eye strain and just changing the color temperature of your display based on your environment. You have number one, the bedtime mode. This one will change throughout the day, reducing the blue light as the day goes to pretty much match your cycles so that by the time you get ready for bed, your display is pretty much filtering out all blue light and your eye isn't as strained. You also have the smart eye comfort shield available, which allows you to again let the phone decide based on the ambient lighting around you to match the color temperature of your display to the ambient lighting to again reduce eye strain. You do have the natural tone mode on both of them, which this one's more focused on trying to get the ambient lighting matching the color temperature of your display for better color accuracy, but the eye comfort one is more trying to reduce your eye strain. The OnePlus 11 also does have the eye comfort shield available, but it's only able to be used on a schedule, whether it be a timed schedule, and that's pretty much it. With the OnePlus 12, you are able to set it to a smart one, like I said, or also a custom one if you want to. Both phones have an option for an always on display. Settings are pretty minimum and pretty much exactly the same though. And both phones have, for the most part, pretty minimum bezels and intrusions on your display. The chin, the forehead, the sides are pretty much the exact same size. The only thing they've changed is they moved the location of the front camera. Now it's centered versus on the left corner of the OnePlus 11. Up to you to decide whether you think which one is better. I personally like it to be symmetrical, so it being in the center is nicer to me. As far as buttons and ports, there are a few changes here. So on the OnePlus 11, you do have the power button and the alert slider on the right-hand side, and then the volume rocker on the left-hand side. Versus on the OnePlus 12, you do have the volume rocker and the power button on the right-hand side, so they're together now, and the power button is right below that volume rocker, and then the alert slider is on the left-hand side now. I find that both of them have their pros and cons. With the OnePlus 12, with the alert slider being on the left-hand side, that means there's no buttons on one side, which means that when you put this phone down horizontally on, say, a table, you stand it up or something, there's no need to worry about accidental touches, whether it be from the power button, accidentally turning off the display, or accidentally raising the volume or lowering the volume unintentionally. But it also does make it a little bit difficult to know which button you're clicking when you have the phone in your pocket. It's pretty easy to distinguish which side of the phone you're clicking because you just look for the alert slider and you know which side you're on. It's up to you to decide which one you prefer. But the alert sliders being in different positions could also be controversial depending on what you're used to. They're both pretty high up, so it can be a little bit difficult to reach on either or. But they get the job done for me, and plus it is included on both of them. So I think it depends on what you prefer, but for me, I kind of prefer the way it's set up on the OnePlus 12. At the bottom, you have USB-C and dual firing speakers on both of them, which both sound pretty good overall. I will say, I feel like the OnePlus 11 did sound a little bit louder. While it was louder, the OnePlus 12 felt a little bit deeper, like it had a little bit more oomph to it. So it both overall side by side, you could see or hear a bit of a difference, but if you have just one or the other, you'll be more than satisfied with the speaker quality on both of them. Then you have the SIM card slot at the bottom, which is a dual SIM card, so you can insert 2 different SIM cards if you want to, so you can make this into a travel phone if you wanted to do that. And both of them are also eSIM capable, and you have the latest 5G and LTE connections on both devices. And both of them have had no issues with me. I've been using T-Mobile/Mint Mobile, which is today's video partner. Have you ever thought to yourself, why the fuck is my phone bill so damn high? Well, I got you covered. With phones getting expensive, although the OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus 11 are actually relatively inexpensive, phone bills are the last things that you want to worry about. And with Mint Mobile, they are able to offer you premium wireless for as low as $15 a month. And you don't have to sacrifice speed, data, or coverage because they're built on the largest 5G network. And they're actually able to keep those prices pretty low because they don't have any physical locations. Everything is done online. You select how much data you want, then you select the eSIM or physical SIM. And if you select the eSIM, you can instantly get yourself started pretty quickly within 15 minutes. Or if you want a physical SIM card, you are able to still get one of those shipped out to you for free. I've personally been a Mint Mobile customer for well over 3 years, and I have had nothing but a good experience, and actually just recently renewed for my next year. So I am very happy with my service and my experience with Mint Mobile. And Mint Mobile does offer a modern family plan with as little as 2 lines, and switching over takes as little as 15 minutes. It's super simple to get yourself started, and if you have any issues, simply contact them and they'll be able to help you out. And right now, new customers can get any plan for just $15 a month. That includes the unlimited plan, which is normally $30 a month. So why wait? Stop letting the big carriers take advantage of you and sign up for Mint Mobile using my links down below. Try mintmobile.com/tacotech or scan the QR code on the screen right now. It really does help out the channel when you use my link, so thank you. And let me know down in the comments if you made the switch. And both phones have really good haptics. You have the option to switch between a crisp or gentle mode, and they both feel relatively the same on both devices, whichever one you pick. And you can also adjust the slider to decide how intense you want the haptic system to be. And the fact that they include a little video to showcase those haptics shows you how proud they are of those haptics. It feels nice. Whichever device you have, the haptics definitely feel really nice, whether you're using crisp or gentle. And both phones have the exact same biometrics and optical fingerprint sensor on both of them, and also 2D facial recognition. The fingerprint sensor is about 95% accurate and reliable. It gets you in pretty quickly and pretty fast. Same thing with the facial recognition. The only time it really won't work is if you're in a low light situation, or if you're at a weird angle, or your phone's really far away from you, then it may not always recognize you, but it's relatively quick as well. But the OnePlus 12 does have a new feature, the smart notification hiding. This could be something that comes to the OnePlus 11. I'm not entirely sure, only because it does use a different camera, so there may be some differences there as to why it's not available or will not be available, but either way, it could potentially come to the OnePlus 11. But basically, smart notification hiding, what it does is that if you're actively using your phone and you get a notification, it won't show you the details of the notification unless it's you who's using the phone. So you do have to scan your face in, and once it knows who you are, if it recognizes your face and you're using your phone, it'll show you the notification. As far as performance and battery life, both of them are actually really, really good. It's tough to choose between which one. I feel like the OnePlus 12 is definitely a bit better, but the OnePlus 11 is already really good. So if the OnePlus 11, you have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, you also have 16GB of LPDDR5X RAM, and if you get the 256 model, you'll get UFS 4.0 storage. Overall, performance is solid. Overall, really good. The only time you'll ever see any kind of stutters or lag is maybe with the software itself or bugs in the software. I doubt it'll be related to the performance of the device itself because performance is really good. Overall, everyday stuff, gaming is really good on the OnePlus 11. And overall, the phone is able to stay pretty efficiently cool. The only time I ever felt it get really warm is when heavy camera usage was being done, or after a long time of extended usage of like games or something. And even then, it was never hot. It was only just warm to the touch. So with that being said, the battery life was also really good. I was able to get anywhere from a minimum of maybe 14 or 16 hours to a total of a day, sometimes a day and a couple of hours, maybe sometimes a day and like 5 hours or so. Battery life has been phenomenal on the OnePlus 11. And that's still even after about a year of owning it. Versus the OnePlus 12, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with, again, 16GB of LPDDR5X RAM and then UFS 4.0 storage. I believe the base is 256, but I do have the 512 model here. So with that being said, it's also really good. I believe they have a new Trinity engine, and on top of that, they also have a new cooling system in here, which should help performance and also cooling at the same time. So they already improved on what the OnePlus 11 was to the OnePlus 12. So this thing is also a champ. And the battery life is also a champ. So performance, no issue. Whatever you do on this device, you'll be more than satisfied on this experience. And they also added a new feature, a new setting that allows you to turn on animations to be a little bit faster right in the stock settings. So you don't even have to turn on developer mode. You can go into the settings and you can turn on a setting that allows you to open up apps much faster. So it goes from a medium speed to a fast speed, and it just is instant. It's so nice and super crisp and fast. Yeah, performance is good. Whether it be your day-to-day experience, a more heavier usage day where you're using your phone for camera usage, gaming, multitasking, you'll be more than satisfied with the performance on the OnePlus 12. Again, if there's bugs, if there's stutters, it may be related to something in the software. But battery life, once again, really good as well. I'm getting a minimum a day. That's the minimum. A minimum of at least 20 to 24 hours to about a day and maybe 6 or so plus hours. So battery life is not a concern on the OnePlus 12. Neither is on the OnePlus 11. And if for some reason you do run out of juice midday, you do have to use a proprietary charger, which does come in the box. So you do have the proprietary SuperVOOC 80-watt charger, which is insanely fast. You're able to charge both devices in like 30 minutes or so. It may be a little bit longer on the OnePlus 12 because it is a slightly bigger battery at 5,400 milliamps versus 5,000 on the OnePlus 11. So that also may factor into the fact that the OnePlus 12 may be getting a little bit more battery life. The OnePlus 11 also does not have wireless charging. The OnePlus 12 does. Again, it does use a proprietary SuperVOOC Air charging or Air SuperVOOC, whatever it's called. And you have to use OnePlus's wireless charger that allows you to go up to, I believe, 50 or 55 watts of fast charging, which again is insane. I don't have it, but that's much faster compared to other devices that charge wired. And for the most part, Oxygen OS is a fluid and clean and overall very customizable OS system. There are, though, small things that kind of make you think twice and blink twice as to who would have thought that would be a good idea for the software. It's just small minimum things that could easily be fixed with an update and just make the quality of life of Oxygen OS a lot better. For example, on the lock screen, there's little to no customization available. You can't change the clock style, you can't change the position of it, you can't add widgets, you can't even really change the apps at the bottom to whatever apps you want. You can only select from a pre-selected version, and the right-hand side one is always the camera. Other OS systems have allowed you to change up the lock screen a lot more. When you get to the home screen, there's actually a good amount of customization right there available at your fingertips with the stock settings. Number one is the icons. You have the ability to select from a handful of already defined and made icon packs, but you can also go into a custom one that allows you to select the size and the shape that you want that your icons to be, but also allow you to use the colors from your wallpaper to match the colors, which is Material U coming from Android, and also remove the names of the icons. I like that look just because it makes the whole home screen aesthetic look a lot cleaner. There are a couple small other things that are cool where you can change the animation of the transition between the home pages. You can also enlarge a folder. So if you have a folder that you like to access a lot, but want to easily just hop into it without having to open the folder every single time, you can just enlarge it and you can access all those apps really quickly while being able to use less grid slots and have more icons available on your disposal. It's pretty convenient, so you can kind of get creative with how you customize your home screens. I also find the padding for some of the OnePlus widgets to be a little bit excessive. I find that they take up too much room and offer very little. I feel like some of these might be related to, again, just the software and maybe app specific that use too much padding. But again, these could easily be updated and fixed. Same complaints with the notifications. Again, the padding seems a bit excessive sometimes. This might be related to Android because I know the Pixel suffers with some of this as well, where sometimes you'll get a notification that's, I don't know, maybe YouTube videos, and it'll just take up pretty much the whole notification drawer. I also found that sometimes it's too sensitive whenever you're trying to swipe up and view your whole notification drawer. So I'll swipe down and you have a lot of notifications, and then I'll try to swipe up or scroll up, I should say, to view notifications at the bottom, but it thinks I'm trying to swipe it back up and it swipes the whole notification drawer up, and it's kind of annoying. As well as the X at the very bottom that cleared all your notifications hovers over the last notification. So it does get in the way sometimes when you have a lot of notifications and it's hovering over some kind of text of a notification. When you swipe down to access your quick toggles, I don't mind it for the most part, but I don't like that they take up too much space at the bottom. There's a lot of empty space. I wish it was the other way around where that empty space was at the top, so it was easier to reach and access those quick toggles. I'm not a fan that the media output is really well hidden and requires additional steps to access within your quick settings. You have to swipe down the whole way, click the 3 menu button at the very top right, and then you have access to the media output. This feature is really useful if you have, say, multiple audio outputs connected to your device, but you want to specifically choose one. Sometimes, for example, I'll turn my car on and my phone will automatically connect to the speaker system within the car, and I'm still inside of the house and just want the car to turn on to warm up. And so it can become annoying trying to quickly change the audio output from the car system to my phone itself. Swiping up, you do have the app drawer, which is pretty basic from Android. You have a vertical drawer, which you can actually sort by a couple of different options, either by the name alphabetically, by the most used applications, or by the time they were installed. So for the most part, the core experience is pretty much exactly the same on both devices. Both of them also have the exact same ecosystem capabilities, which is all reliant on the Google ecosystem. You're able to use nearby share on both devices, and you're able to connect to Google's Find My network if you lose your devices. But OnePlus is ramping up their own hardware ecosystem. They do have their OnePlus Buds 2 Pro, the OnePlus Buds 3 now, and I also saw that they're announcing a new OnePlus Watch, the Watch 2. I didn't even know they had a Watch 1. I think I've heard of it, but I heard it was pretty bad because it used its own OS system instead of using Wear OS, which this one I think is supposed to be using Wear OS. So let me know if you want me to check out that device. I haven't used or reviewed a smartwatch in a little while, but I'll be more than happy to check it out. I've actually been using the Pixel Watch 2 with the OnePlus 12 right now. So that could be a good comparison, the Pixel Watch 2 versus the OnePlus Watch 2. Either way, OnePlus is trying to ramp up their own hardware ecosystem. Also forgot about the OnePlus Pad. Forgot they even had a tablet. I heard it's pretty good for the price, but either way, like I said, ecosystem will be pretty much exactly the same on both of them. But overall, as far as software, it's pretty much exactly the same. Small little differences that may end up coming to the OnePlus 11 when it comes to an update. And speaking of those updates, the OnePlus 11 is promised 4 years of OS updates and 5 years of security updates, but it's a year old now, so now it's down to 3 years of OS updates and then 4 years of security updates. Versus the OnePlus 12, it's also promised 4 years of OS updates and 5 years of security updates, so you are still getting that 1 extra year, but 3 years and 4 is still a good amount on the OnePlus 11. So when it comes to software support, you will be supported for a good amount of time on both of them, but if you want to keep the phone as long as possible, then obviously the newest one's the best way to go. Now, as far as the cameras, both camera systems are solid. They're very good, but there's definitely an improvement on the OnePlus 12, at least hardware-wise. Software and processing may be a bit of a difference. Now, I will say I'm not a camera buff. I like to point and shoot and hope that the processing that the OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus 11 do turns out pretty good. And for the most part, for photos, they do turn out pretty good. From the ultra-wide down to the telephotos, the respective telephotos that each of them have look overall pretty decent. So with both of them, the color tuning is a bit different though. So I found that the OnePlus 11 overall is a little bit more vivid. Colors tend to be, I like to call them fake, because what I'm seeing on the OnePlus 11 is not exactly what I'm seeing in the real world. The exposure also tends to be a little bit brighter, so images overall tend to be brighter on the OnePlus 11, so which does come in handy when you get to more indoor situations or low light situations and nighttime photos, versus the OnePlus 12 tends to be a bit darker, more realistic, and more natural overall when it comes to the color tuning. Colors don't pop as much, aren't as vivid and as vibrant and saturated, not too much contrast, but overall it is a well-balanced image in my opinion. But if you want more information, more detail in those darker low light areas, then the OnePlus 11, whether you like it or not, does seem to brighten up those areas of an image. Where the OnePlus 11 does start to struggle though is definitely once you start to digitally zoom in. So the OnePlus 11 does have only a 2x optical telephoto versus the OnePlus 12 has a 3x optical telephoto. So immediately, as soon as you switch to 3x and then start to zoom in even further, you notice a drastic difference in the amount of detail when comparing the OnePlus 12 to the OnePlus 11. The OnePlus 11 is maxed out at a capped 20x max zoom when it comes to photos, versus the OnePlus 12 is able to reach a maximum of 120x capabilities. I don't know why or when you would use that, because the photos look like shit once you get past, like, I want to say even 80x. You may be able to get an idea of what it is that you were shooting that day, but honestly, why or when would you ever use those photos? It's really just used more as a gimmick, in my opinion. The front cameras, overall, both of them are not my favorite. I don't think they're accurate at all to what I look like and what the environment looked like. Sometimes the images on the OnePlus 11 looked a bit overall too overexposed. My face was way too white compared to what I actually look like. The OnePlus 12 dialed it back a little bit, but it still wasn't accurate to my skin color either. The environment itself sometimes looked a bit over unrealistic on both of them, but the depth of field looked overall pretty nice on both of them. When it came to low light on the front camera though, the OnePlus 12, wouldn't say blew it out of the water, but definitely looked a bit better compared to the OnePlus 11. The OnePlus 11 would sometimes try to again overexpose my face, which would end up making it look like I was glowing, like there was some kind of glowing effect around me. It looked kind of bad. So I wasn't a big fan of the front cameras on both of them. They get the job done in normal daylight situations, but in low light, definitely not an option that I would want to use. All right, so here we have the OnePlus 12 versus the OnePlus 11 front-facing cameras. So OnePlus 12 is able to record at 4K 30 finally, whereas the OnePlus 11 is stuck at 1080p 30 frames per second. So you should hopefully be seeing a better, just overall detailed video on the OnePlus 12. From what I'm seeing on the viewfinders, color-wise, the OnePlus 12 seems to have a warmer tone versus the OnePlus 11. I look a lot redder. Like my skin just look a lot more red for some reason. The whites do look a lot whiter on the OnePlus 11 though, according to the viewfinder here, which kind of looks nicer because like it's like a snowy morning, so it's like it looks a lot more nicer in my opinion. But the detail should be better on the OnePlus 12. So hopefully the video you're seeing though is a lot nicer on the OnePlus 12. Because I'm just happy you get 4K on the front camera now. So I think that's a big bonus for the OnePlus 12 now. Okay, now taking a look at the back cameras of the OnePlus 12. What you're seeing here is the ultra wides. So as you can see, the stabilization potentially as I'm walking here, we're getting decent stabilization. The color and the detail here, I'd say from what I'm seeing in the viewfinder, look very similar. I am seeing just a little bit of a difference in the color though. That might again just be due to the viewfinder and display settings. Although I did try to set them up the same display settings, but could be a slight difference there where the OnePlus 12 looks a little bit warmer. But again, you're seeing this on your screen and you can let me know down in the comments what you think. So let's take a switch real quick to the main lens. Now, one thing I do hate with these OnePlus phones is on the camera, you have to either tap your way to the next lens or you have to use a slider. And I'm not a huge fan of it because you have to be very careful you don't go over and it's just annoying. So it's not the easiest, in my opinion, to switch between the different lenses. As you can see here, the kind of detail you're getting on the cameras. OnePlus 11 seems to be having some trouble focusing on it. There we go. But there you can see the level of detail, the quality here, and also the stabilization as we're just walking. Kind of what the whites look like. I hope the whites look decently white. My hands are freezing, bro. It's cold out here, man. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I believe the 3x is where you get the telephoto. Yeah, the 3x here. What about the OnePlus 11? As I zoom in. Oh yeah, I forgot. So on the OnePlus 11, actually, you are unable to use your telephoto in 4K video, and on the OnePlus 12, you finally can. That's another big bonus. That's awesome. Finally. Thank you. That's a standard in pretty much every flagship except for the OnePlus 11. So now the OnePlus 12 fixes that, so you can definitely see a lot more detail, way better detail on the OnePlus 12 here. And if we slowly walk, you can see what kind of stabilization the telephoto gets. versus the main lens on the OnePlus 11. I think I would say probably the OnePlus 11 is going to be more stabilized. Alright, so the last bit of video here, I want to test out the maximum zoom capabilities. I know the OnePlus 11's already capped out at 10x, so I just want to see what the OnePlus 12 compares to. So this is on 4K again, so if I max out here on the OnePlus 11, we're capped at 10x, and you can see it's all digitally zoomed with that one main lens sensor. On the OnePlus 12, we're able to go up to 18x. So if I go back to 10x, let's see. So that's 10x right there. Oh my lord, yeah. So yeah, most definitely the most versatile system here is definitely going to be the OnePlus 12. I love that they finally upgraded that. It's about time, since the OnePlus 10 Pro. That was my first OnePlus actually, OnePlus phone, and that phone struggled with the telephoto in 4K as well, so I wasn't even capable of using it. So I'm glad it's finally available on the OnePlus 12. You can see so much better. And like I said, the max zoom here is 18x. Not quite 20x like the Pixel 8 Pro and the S24 Ultras, but I think it does just about beat out the iPhone. I think the iPhone might be 15x. So here we have the OnePlus 11 versus the OnePlus 12 in low light situations. The OnePlus 12 on the front obviously is 4K, but it looks like it looks rough around the edges. The OnePlus 11 looks to be a little bit brighter versus the OnePlus 12. I don't know what it's doing with the color. I don't know if it's my display, but the color just looks pretty bad. I'm not sure what it's doing. It's way too warm. The color temperature is way too warm. I'm not sure, like I said, what it's doing exactly, but I'm curious to know if the detail is any better. I'd say right now the OnePlus 11 front camera video, it looks better. It definitely looks rough on the OnePlus 12. So we'll see what it looks like on post and what you guys are seeing. So let me know what you guys think of the front facing video. So here we have the OnePlus 12 versus the OnePlus 11 in 4K. They look a little snowman. That's kind of cute. Man, I hate that you have to use those sliders to zoom in. It's a little snowman. Just chilling and vibing. Enjoying life. Low light video, 4K 30. OnePlus 12 versus OnePlus 11. Let's say, from what I'm seeing on the viewfinder, the OnePlus 12 definitely looks a lot nicer on the main lens that I'm using right now. Definitely looks better tuned to the natural look that what I'm seeing as far as color here. So I would say the OnePlus 12 pretty impressive right now, at least compared to the OnePlus 11. Now if I switch to the ultra wide, so I'm the ultra wide now. I don't know what it is with the OnePlus 12, but it does look to be a bit different in the color and looks worse in my opinion compared to the OnePlus 11. It looks like it's got a bit of a blue-orange tint to it. Doesn't really do it any favors in this low light situation. I feel like it might look nicer when there is light, but right now since there is little to no light, it's not looking too hot. If I were to switch to the telephotos here, I'm curious to know if the OnePlus 12 does switch over. So once I reach that 3x here, it does not. OnePlus 11 already does not use the back telephoto for anything for video, so it looks like anything zooming in. Oh, there we go, finally switched over. So once you push it even further to the max zoom capabilities, it switches over. So it finally switched over here, and you can see I'm maxed out at 10x on the OnePlus 11, but if I zoom out a little bit less, let's see, at what point does it switch over? Oh, stupid slider. Okay, so it looks like after 10x. So both of them are now at 10x. You can see here, a lot darker obviously on the OnePlus 12, because the OnePlus 11 is using the main lens, but definitely a bit more detailed on the OnePlus 12 because it's using the telephoto. Just, it's not wide enough with the aperture to be able to get enough light. The OnePlus 12 is definitely the better overall device. I would definitely get this device over the OnePlus 11 any day. But if you can't afford the OnePlus 12, if it's too expensive, or if there's too big of a price gap and you're going to be paying an extra $400 to $500 more just to get the OnePlus 12, then I would just get the OnePlus 11. It's still a solid, good device, and you'll be more than satisfied with the performance and the experience coming from the OnePlus 11. But again, if you can afford it, even if you're trading in the OnePlus 11 to the OnePlus 12, if you can afford it and it's not a big price difference, get the upgrade, go for the OnePlus 12. It's the better overall device. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this was helpful. And peace.